So we are finally joined by, some would say, Jake's, I think I said last night on the podcast, his vocal doppelganger.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time coming. It's a video, so if you are hearing this and you want to watch the video, be looking for that instead. But we are joined by Cohutta Grindstaff all the way up somewhere in Montana, I'm assuming.
Yep, I'm way up there. I'm up north.
So, do you want to just start off with, I think we reached out to you the first time. One of our patrons emailed me or messaged me today that he used to email us when we first started our podcast, and he said we first talked about you coming on the show in February of 2019.
Very possible.
And because I remember at one point we had talked and then some things just came up and the timing didn't work out, and then out of nowhere you just up and moved to Montana to go live in the woods with Abram or something like that.
Well, I moved from the woods to the woods, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not, and I've already apologies again. I have a bit of guilt about it, but it's not that I was dodging anybody or something like this. But this, as far as the show goes, it's just not. It's never been like something my life revolved around or something like that. It was kind of something that I would do if time allowed for it and things like that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of worked out the same way with any kind of like appearance stuff that we would do or like speaking or engagements or anything like that. And I never made it, I never prioritized it, which is unfortunate for y'all.
No, it's fine.
know?
Like we're not upset at anything.
Listen, Zach's trying to be polite, but this guy's been in tears waiting to get you on this podcast. I've had to console him a number of times, man.
Yeah,
and this is the time of his life right here.
A good cry is always worth it.
That's right. I agree with it.
So when we started this podcast, we started it, honestly, we were a little naive. We didn't really think there were any other challenge podcasts out there. And when we started it, we started getting emails, and it was like, who's that one host that has an accent? And Jake automatically thought they were talking about me, and I was like, I don't really think I have an accent, man. And I was like, I've lived in West Tennessee my whole life. I was like, but I don't think I do. And finally, I believe it was Shane came on from the challenge, and he was like, you sound like George W. Bush. He was like, that's all it is. And we would have people say he either sounded like you or Ace or now George W. Bush. So he doesn't think he has an accent, but I mean, he definitely does.
You have a little hint of one, Jake.
A little bit of a twang, but I've learned to love it and appreciate it for what it is. So I don't know how I feel about the George W. comparison. I've kind of had that's been a hard pill to swallow to know that I sound like a, 67-year-old man. What can you do?
I don't think
what else you want out of life?
Yeah, I wouldn't take anything Shane said just like fully factual.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been waiting all my life to be old. Crow's feet, wrinkles, like old, like drinking coffee all the time, like the goal.
That is.
So if you already sound like that, you're way ahead.
Okay, all right. So it's a good thing then.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm turning 30 in like 3 months, and it kind of scares me a little bit. 30 really makes me feel like I'm really hitting the pinnacle of old.
So 30, I think 30 for a guy is a really good age because you're not as stupid as you previously been in life, but you're still physically, I feel like I asked my grandpa a long time ago, I was like, when did you, because he was, he was an athlete, strong and coordinated and whatnot. And I was like, when did you feel like naturally your body, like you had peaked, like you went all the way up to the hill, and it's like you were not climbing anymore. It was not happening without some kind of substance or something like that. And then you started kind of, things, woke up with your little sore every day. And he said about 34, 35. He is right.
So how old are you now?
36.
Okay, so I'm 31.
Yeah.
And so I'm not quite there yet. But
You're still cruising.
I don't feel like any different. Like I know mentally like I've grown and whatever, but like when I was young and like I knew people that were in their 30s, I was like, "Oh, those people, they've got their whole life figured out. Like they know what's going on." And it's really not that way. Everyone's just pretending, and you're learning as you go.
I felt like once I hit 30, I feel like that you're driven when you're younger to do things with like all alternate motives. So it's like you hang out with certain people because of if other people might think they're cool, or you hang out with them because of for this reason or that reason. Or they have a table at this club, or they have this, or they have that, or if it's 4 single guys kind of going out on the town on a Saturday night, like everybody's got to pull their weight or something like that. If you're just like cruising for ladies or something. But by the time you get 30, it's like I came into like a recognition of why I was friends with who I was friends with, and it had nothing to do with any of that. Like you lose a lot of ego and you lose a lot of image and stuff like that, and you're finally just comfortable. I feel like being you and being fine with that, and it's good. And you're still, you're 30, you feel great. 30, I weighed more. I felt like I had finally come to a point in my life where my metabolism wasn't just a psycho anymore. And I finally got to gain the 15 pounds I've been wanting all my life.
Yeah.
So it was good, dude. Look forward to it. 30's good.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, it's not a big deal. Like, I don't feel any different at 31 than I did when I was like 27, like just physically or mentally or anything like that. Like, I don't know.
I turned 30 on free agents in Uruguay. I went up to, I was taking a shower in my room, and Isaac said, come downstairs. We're all going to have a toast before we go out. And I came down, and he made me a birthday cake, and everybody sang happy birthday, and we went out.
So we just watched Free Agents again and did some podcasts on it between the last 2 seasons, because we do old ones in the off season. I like that free agent season a whole lot. Like, I like the format.
Good too.
That's probably one of my favorite ones. It had some interesting moments on it. But it's fun. Like that's kind of like the heyday for me, because Jake and I started watching probably 2003 or so.
Thereabouts.
With the challenge, and Hannah didn't start until Bloodlines, so she came in on the tail end of you.
Yeah. Bloodlines is my biggest sore spot of the whole experience.
That's a weird season. Like
it was a weird season, but we had such a like we were just talking. Me and Katelin and Jill had posted a video of Amelie, her oldest. She's got 2 little girls now, and Jill and her sister were both like, they looked when they were babies like you would pick them up off a shelf at a toy store or something. I mean, they were like, they looked like dolls.
Yeah. And
her kids are kind of like that too. She's just made extremely pretty children. And I was talking to Katelin about Jill, because she met her at Christmas. They had come up. I started looking through, showing her like old pictures, and Jill was the best girl competitor on that season, and she didn't really get a chance to show it.
Yeah, see, I don't remember much about her, honestly.
Well, I'll say this: we did, because Jill. So my grandpa and Jill's grandpa were brothers, and she was very close with her grandpa, still is, and her grandpa runs a scrap yard, and he's had it for, I don't know, probably since the 50s, early 60s, I guess. And Jill, he went up there every day, all day long, and got to the point where he couldn't load batteries anymore, and he couldn't change brakes, and they crushed cans and stuff like that and hauled scrap. So Jill went up there and started doing it for him, cut all his firewood every year, kept his garden up, plowed everything, and ran the junkyard. And Jill was like strong, like
so she's tough like, on a level you can't train for in a gym.
Well, she's tough in the gym too, and she's very dedicated to religious with the gym, but has like that. Wakes up in the morning and puts jeans on and laces a pair of boots up, and puts a hat on, and comes home dirty. Like she is strong. And Cara Maria, when we did that show, Cara brought her CrossFit rings to the house.
Yeah.
We had like a what's those things called? Not parabola. That's a damn algebra equation. Pergola.
Yeah, pergola.
Pergola. I was close. But they had one of those at the pool, and she put her rings on it. And me and Jill were up in the house, and Leroy ran up there and said, "Y'all, come on, Cara, we're doing we're having a pull-up contest." And Jill beat all the girls.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Jill did 22
pull-ups.
Pull-ups. She did like
that's impressive.
Four more than Kara did, and Kara brought the damn rings.
Yeah.
You know, and it was that point I feel like in that show that a lot of the girls were like,
So,
you know?
I would say the biggest regret for you on that season, from my standpoint, is that you didn't get to see Abram psych himself up so much that he made his nose bleed and he rubbed it all over his face.
I've seen that a lot.
That's one of my favorite moments from.
Quick tangent story about Abram. So, me and Abram met on the island.
Yeah.
And
another weird season, by the way.
Very weird season, and that was my first challenge. You know, and I had just kind of started traveling. You know, I traveled the country a lot ever since the Australia show, but that was when I really started traveling like the globe.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of my first. Did some Mexico stuff, but so we got there, and I was like the kid from the mountains in Georgia that, you know, was built log homes for a living. And Abram showed up, and he was this kid from the mountains in Montana that was building houses for a living. We just kind of hit it off, and everybody else on the whole show was they were miserable. Like, excuse me, the whole time, you know, because we had a lot of white rice to eat, a limited amount of fish and this and that. But for me and Abram, it was like Swiss Family Robinson or something. I mean, we would just sit on the beach and drink wine.
I was going to say, I remember you guys sitting off together and just kind of like talking like you're just old friends.
Yeah,
it was watching the sunset.
Yeah, we lived in these palapas, they called them, and it's like a deck that's thatch sided on three sides, you know, and it's got a thatch roof, but the front's open.
Yeah.
And the waves would just come in under the porch, you know, and you're just on a mattress with like a bug net on, and all these storms would roll in like you could see them. It was amazing. So anyways, we became friends and kept in touch. And I lived in Athens, Georgia, and I partnered in a nightclub down there, and it was a cool old, like 115-year-old theater. And it had rig high ceilings, you know, and it had a mezzanine that was built in the back like a balcony. We were remodeling it to make like a VIP section and bar and bathrooms up there. And I told Abram, I said, you should come down to Georgia for a while with me. And, you know, I got a spare bedroom. We had this big farmhouse. And I said, you just help me build out this balcony. And he said, all right. So anyways, he moved in with me, and I let him bartend at the bar. And, you know, Athens is a big college town, you know, and we had a big time and worked on the bar every day upstairs. But anyways, we were demoing the bar downstairs, and it was a metal bar the guy had built, and he had tucked the drawers for the registers, the cash drawers, and tack welded them onto the bottom of the bar. And they were on there very well, you know. And I told Abram, I said, we need to get these off here so we can cut this bar out, see if you can get one of these cash drawers off here. He started jerking on it, hitting it, and he couldn't get it off, couldn't move it, and he pulled the drawer out, broke the drawer out, and then it was like the box that the drawer slides in. And he started getting mad, and I had a roofing hammer laying there. And a roofing hammer is like, sorry.
No, you're good.
Got like a hammerhead on one end, and it's got a hatchet on the other side.
Yeah.
Hatchets for getting under a shingle and prying the shingles up, and then you can drive nails to the other side. And Abram grabbed that hammer, and he started beating on that damn box, you know, with that hammer, just bam, bam. And it just started crinkling and denting, and we wouldn't get nowhere with it. And he got madder and madder. Next thing, he's sweating. And he started, really letting it eat, just bam, bam on that box over and over, over and over. And all of a sudden, he hit it, and drew back and went.
Oh, my. With the hatchet part?
And he tucked that roofing hatchet and stuck it in the top of his head, in his scalp.
Oh,
no. And blood just started running down both sides of his face. He had a white shirt on all over his shoulders. And I said, me and my buddy were like, are you okay? We thought he just killed himself or something, cut his hat. But he cut it, he cut it in the knee kind of down there.
Well,
He was
head
like,
injuries
"No,
bleed like crazy just in general.
oh yeah, it bled like crazy.
Yeah.
I'm fine. It's just bleeding." And he insisted. I said, "Well, we'll go home, get you some clothes, and see if that, maybe wash that out." And he said, "First, we got to go get a drink." So we walked in. We walked in the bar next door, and Abram had that blood. I mean, he had blood all in his ears, dried all over his shirt, and then it was full of like sorority girls, and they didn't know what the hell had walked in the bar. I got a picture of him just.
Of course,
If
made
I
that
can
face.
send it to you, and he's holding that hatchet. He's got damn blood running all over his face.
Yeah, if you can send it to me, I'll put it in the video. I'll overlay it whenever.
Deal.
Man, that's
That's
Deal.
crazy.
Did he get any like stitches or staples or anything?
I super glued it
Yeah,
shut at the house. We went in the bathroom, and I super glued it and squeezed it.
Oh, that sounds
Honestly,
about
super
right.
glue is what they use a lot of times with places
Yeah.
that can't really. Because I split my head open playing basketball at MTSU, and
Mhm.
it bled like crazy all over the court because it just doesn't stop. And they were like, "Hey," at the hospital, they're like, "We're gonna have to put a staple in it." They're like, "But honestly, the medicine's gonna hurt worse than the staple." And they're like, "So
Yeah.
let us just staple it without giving you any sort of like shots." And that sucked so much. And
Instantly regret that decision.
it was the night before. It was the night of a Halloween party at a like fraternity, and so I had to be really careful that no one because everyone's drunk and you don't want them touching you, and I don't know. It wasn't a pleasant experience.
So at least you pulled through, went to a party after getting your head stapled together with no
I
anesthesia.
did actually, and I
You
was
really-
I was not a partier at all, but I went to that.
Obviously not.
Yeah.
Obviously not. You went with staples in your head straight out of the doctor. You weren't a partier at all.
Yeah.
Listen, you guys have such cool head injury stories. I just had a horseshoe fall on my forehead when I was 6 years old and just split it open. So
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Like out of the sky? Like what are you doing?
so,
That'd be
So-
a lot weirder.
so my grandmother had this clothesline in her backyard, just literally a homemade clothesline with some metal poles stuck in the ground and some cabling stretched across it. And she had these horseshoes that would hang over the top of it. We play it almost like you'd play washers or something. You'd throw them and try to hook them around the pole. And I'm like 6 or 7 years old, and I'm out there playing by myself, and I can barely reach the top to hang it back up. And so I kind of had to jump and just kind of easily, place it up there. And I stood right under it to make sure it was up there and it was going to stay. And it didn't. And it just fell right off and popped me right on the forehead. And blood started pouring. Grandmother thought I was dying. So she's like 4'2". So she's running from the back porch all the way over to me. And that's my head injury story. So
It's crazy how much meat's on your scalp.
Yeah.
You don't realize till you get really split, but it's that thick. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's meaty up there,
So-
my buddy got hit with a tequila bottle one time right here in the head, and I had a picture of it forever on my phone. But it is unbelievable.
And it's probably just white because I don't know.
I don't know. It was gnarly.
The
We was all standing around like, "You're all right." He's like, "Yeah." Look how deep that is.
so just so you know, like we are in between kind of like Memphis and Nashville now, but Jake and I grew up in a town of like 2,500 people, like in the country in West Tennessee. And so like we relate to you on some issues that other people don't, because like my grandmother had a clothesline in her backyard too. Like, is that type of town?
Well,
It was the round metal poles
Yes.
that were a T like
Yes.
that.
Yep.
She never dried anything. She'd always just take it out, and she had a dryer, but she loved hanging them out on the clothesline.
Yep.
And so
Smart.
yeah, we relate on that stuff. Hannah, her parents actually live there now.
Yeah, we lived in Memphis and then moved to the same town that they're from after he moved away.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of high school with the good old country boys, and so I'm very familiar with the super gluing of any injury, whatever it may be, however you may have gotten it. And so I just, that's something that I'm used to.
So my high school, we were the Rebels.
Is that in
And-
Athens?
No, that was in Blue Ridge in North Georgia.
Okay.
Fannin County Rebels. and the whole marching band dressed in little gray Confederate uniforms. And every time we scored a touchdown, we shot a cannon across the football field.
I don't know if
Oh
you
my
can do that.
gosh.
Probably can't do that anymore.
Oh yeah, you can.
Really?
But yeah, my buddy Robbie Brooker's daddy had the cannon. He'd blow a big smoke ring across the football.
Oh, okay, so there wasn't like a projectile in
like
there.
No,
cannon.
no, that wasn't a cannonball.
I didn't mean a cannonball, but just anything in there, like pyrotechnics.
That
It's just
would be
smoke.
crazy.
So she grew up in East Tennessee, like Sevierville
Yeah,
area.
I'm from the
Oh,
mountains.
Yeah.
You're a mountain girl then.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know where Blue Ridge is?
I'm vaguely familiar with that area.
So like Copper Hill, Tennessee, Murphy, North Carolina,
Yes.
Cherokee, North Carolina.
Mhm.
All that Robbinsville, Bryson City, that's all like real close to Blue Ridge. Blue Ridge is about an hour from Cherokee.
Okay, that makes a little more sense
Yeah,
to
well-
me.
Yeah, 10 miles from Tennessee, 10 miles from North Carolina. It's like right in the corner.
Okay.
So yeah, like when we got married, our honeymoon, we just didn't want to spend a lot of money, and we wanted to just kind of go off on our own. So we just drove up to the mountains in Tennessee and just kind of
Beautiful.
hung out.
It
in the
was like
cabin
going
up there.
home for me
Yeah.
because I mean that's where all my childhood is.
Yeah.
It was nice.
I love Southern Appalachia. I tell people I've been very blessed and got to experience a vast portion of the world, and not only that, some extremely strange places,
Yeah.
like some different cultural places. And Southern Appalachian Mountains should be like its own country. I mean,
It's
the
weird.
culture, the dialect, the way, the food, the music, like everything. It's just totally like its own little deal.
I will say
Awesome.
now that I've been to the Rockies a few times, I am way more partial to like Colorado and Utah in that area. Like I love out there.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes the Smokies not look as great once you go see those.
Well, it's different. It's
It is
like,
different.
Because there's something about that area. It's home, number one. Home's always going to be home, but those mountains are like they hold. I guess you could say they hold more secrets, and they're kind of comforting. It's like at home. If I want to know what's a mile over there, over that ridge, I walk over there and look, and there might be a waterfall or a cave or some little trout stream that you can't see till you get right up on it. And it's like here in Montana, I just look. With binoculars, I can see a mile over there. I don't have to, So these mountains out here, it makes you feel kind of small, and like it's kind of more of a lonely, like everything is just so vast in the expanse, and the distances are so extreme.
And the population's relatively like small, like
I think there's like 1 million people in the state.
yeah,
Montana.
like that's not a lot.
No, it's
for a
huge
state that big. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like my girlfriend's from Nashville, and she's not. She moved here from Nashville, but we were looking at. And I was like, in Davidson County,
Good luck.
Nashville, there's like 650,000 people.
And the cost of
in the
living is
county.
getting insane in Nashville.
I was like, and there's 1 million people here in the whole state. It's why, when you think about it in those terms, it's like there's way more people in Atlanta, Georgia than there are in the state of Montana.
Yeah, and
It's crazy.
like I want to go to Montana. We almost went into Wyoming when we were in Utah, just kind of driving around, going through parks and stuff.
Oh, we tried so hard.
I got sick. I got some like elevation sickness, and so we had to kind of like turn around. But yeah, like I love that type of stuff. I want to go to Yellowstone. Like that's my number one thing is going out there. But I don't know. Are you planning on staying in Montana? Or are you going to come back to Georgia?
I don't know. It's tough. I have a hard time with it, and I do miss like my family back home and I have a house back home, but that's really all that draws me, or I would just be here because it's like out here everything's still kind of wild a little bit. I had buffalo sausage for breakfast yesterday and eating elk steaks for dinner tonight, and it's like, there's deer in the front yard every morning. There's bald eagles flying over the house. It's like living in a National Geographic.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, like you texted me at like 2 hours before we were supposed to record, and you're like, "Hey, just bear with me. Like tonight's my night to cook, and I'm cooking elk steaks on a wood-fired grill. And I was like, what else would I expect from you? And I was like,
this house we live in, the only heat, it's got a wood heater in the living room here. And I was at the sporting goods store over the winter, and I happened to find a camp grill. It was about this big and about this tall, and I saw it, and told Katelin, I said, you know what, I bet that will fit right in the heater. I brought it home, and it fits perfect. And so I just built a fire in the wood heater and put that rack in there. It's like I have a 700-degree steak oven. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Been cooking steaks all winter in the living room.
Has the winter been rough up there? Like, I know it snows like crazy.
It's rough in terms of winters, but it wasn't rough in terms of a Montana winter.
Okay.
Our snowfall was a lot, and especially for her coming from Nashville, it was like an absurd amount of snow. But in comparison to other winters out here, it was, it was a little mild. It wasn't crazy. But it's different, too, because it can be dumping snow and it can be 25 degrees outside and the wind ain't blowing, and we work out in it all day long.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, it's not like that bone chilling like Boston, New York City, just miserable.
The coldest I've ever been is in New York City in winter, and it was just absolutely miserable. And,
Because New York, you'll be walking and come to one cross street where the wind's coming, and then it's like
it'll just
stepping into another world or something.
It goes down to your bones. That's how cold it is. But yeah, like so. I know you're in Montana now, and
this is very, very dry.
It's a dry.
Yeah, the weather here, the air, the altitude, and it's super arid. So the cold it ain't nothing like the East Coast. It doesn't really get you anything like that.
That happened when because obviously we're in Tennessee, so it's super humid everywhere here. So when we went out to Utah, like I was completely like dried out sinus wise because we were there for like a week, and it just like wrecked me. And I never had issues with that. Yeah, I've never had issues.
Oh
with
yeah,
that. Yeah.
My nose all winter, it stays dry. But you don't sweat really. It takes a lot to sweat. I mean, you really got to try hard, even in the summer, to sweat, because it'll be 90 degrees, but the wind's blowing 15 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Dry wind. It's nice.
So what all have you been doing in Montana? Like, I know you've been like building like, it looks like sets of some sort, and then also, I know you were working on a film at one point.
Let's see, 2000, I guess it was 2017. I came out here just to visit Abram because I'd been coming for years, and Paradise Valley, Montana had kind of become my like home away from home. The only other place in the world that I'd ever kind of felt grounded like homey, and I would come every year for my birthday. And it was almost like to get out of town, kind of, because I was in the bar industry for so long. Anywhere around Atlanta or anything, if it's my birthday, it was just like, it ended up being like an immeasurable amount of whiskey shots and stuff like that. They were just a horrible, horrible experience. So I was just kind of Montana.
Yeah.
So I came out here, and my trip was supposed to be for like 7 days. And we went to a meeting because Abram and his brother have an art studio here in town in Livingston called Sound Color. And he said, we've been going back and forth with this director from Melbourne, and they're wanting to shoot a Braveheart follow-up. And we're talking with him about building out some sets and stuff like that. And he said, come to the meeting, and, after the meeting, we'll go get some breakfast and we'll this and that. So I went to the meeting and sat down, and he was asking Richie, the director, he had some photos of what he wanted built, and he was asking logistic questions and timeline, and it was already going in November, and a lot of the other contractors in town had turned it down because it was right in the dead of winter, and at the places they were wanting to build, the altitude and stuff, they were like, it's just not possible. You're backing up. And so Abram said, well, show Cohutta what you're wanting. He was a builder. And so he showed me this and that and this and that. And I said, well, if it was me doing it, I think you should do it like this. You're not trying to build something somebody's going to permanently live in, and yada, yada, yada. And when we left the meeting, I think he was like under the impression, I was the lead carpenter for all the stuff, So anyways, long story short, booked a trip for 7 days and stayed for like 13 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So we built the whole set for the whole film, built everything, and it introduced me to these people that have the Yellowstone Film Ranch now. So that project got put in motion a couple years ago. And I told them, I said, well, when it happens, I want to be a part of it, because working in the construction business, getting to work with artists and it's a passion project, stuff like that. It's a rarity. You're usually working with a bunch of guys that hate their jobs and don't like themselves, and they're miserable, and they're waiting for a beer at 5 o'clock in there. But it's not like that there. Everybody's like super pumped about the project and the job, and it's taking your time to make something historically accurate and is like appreciated rather than like. So it's cool. So that's what brought me out here, and I came out here with two of my buddies from back home, and we're just now putting finishing touches pretty much on we built the saloon block in the center of town. It's the main brothel like saloon of the town in the center, and then there's 3 outbuildings around it. So it's been good. There's a ton of work out here, and that's kind of what I'm at now is looking at other.
I can't remember what account it was, but I followed whatever account that like is associated with all the buildings. Either that you tweeted out, or maybe it was, or not tweeted, but like put on Instagram, or maybe it was Abram or Mike or somebody.
Probably Yellowstone Film Ranch.
Yeah, I've been following that since I saw that you were out there, just to see what you guys were building.
It's cool.
It is pretty cool stuff.
It's cool.
It's
like 25 buildings. It's like we got a sheriff's office, a bank, library, stables, town hall, saloon. Abram built a church that the steeple is like 60-something feet in the air. It's just massive, beautiful church.
When you're building stuff like that, does it have to be up to code as far as like living standards, or is there a different type because it's not?
Since like it's not residential or anything.
But you do have people inside of it.
We've been riding this gray area kind of. Yeah. So my building, there was 2 buildings in the town that were built to code, and one of them was pretty much because it was going to be a sound stage. It was a town hall that Abram's brother built.
Yeah.
And then the saloon, they want to be able to potentially use the space maybe for weddings or corporate events or something. You can rent it out, or something. So the saloon had to be plumbed and wired, and it was going to have a small kitchen later on in the back. And so my building was pretty much built to like international commercial code, pretty much, as far as stair rises and handrail heights and that kind of stuff. So, but a lot of it was facades were built, and then a lot of it was like empty buildings that production can come in and do whatever they want with them. They can dress them however they want, and things like that. But as far as fire code and stuff, a lot of the buildings, it wasn't.
Yeah, that's what I didn't know, because you're not living in it, but people will have to be in it if you're filming stuff. And so I didn't know what the issues were with that.
Yeah, the saloon. I think the saloon I built was like considered a small general assembly space kind of deal. But then the state inspectors and all were super helpful, and they understood that what the deal was and what we were trying to do with it and build, and it all went pretty smooth for a job that magnitude, that was that custom and that many people on the job and all. They did a sound color, Abram and his brother and them, as far as being the general, they knocked it out of the park. They did a great job.
So how did you did you just grow up doing construction, like with family, or like did you just get into it when you were a teenager?
Well, where I'm from, there really is no industry, in the mountains. So it's kind of like Sevierville. It's all, if you're not building vacation cabins, you're not working, if you're not in the tourism industry. And in Blue Ridge, with the town I'm from, we just got a liquor license that they could serve liquor in downtown Blue Ridge in like 2005 maybe, or something like that.
I think this city the town we're from still doesn't. You're not allowed.
Yeah. And it's last calls at like 11 or 11:15 or something.
Nothing on
like
Sunday.
That. Yeah, nothing on Sunday. So there really wasn't a lot of tourism, but but people from Atlanta, you could from Atlanta, you could go to Blue Ridge and you could buy your own brand new 2-bedroom cabin on 2 acres with a well in the mountains for, $280,000 and get off work on Friday evening, and by Friday night you're there.
Mm-hmm.
2 hours,
yeah.
3 hours. So it had this allure. So that's what we did, is we built custom cabins and homes and lake homes and investment homes. And so pretty much what I did at the film ranch of building something that was all wood that looked super rustic, and that's what I did all my life. So I really wasn't changing gears any, but yeah, I started doing that stuff as a teenager. I'd always worked a lot with my dad, as far as we cut a lot of timber and stuff like that. And then I went to grading lots and clearing lots and cutting views and whatnot. And then I started pouring concrete walls, doing foundations, and then went from that to framing. And then eventually we were building like British Columbian cedar log homes and all this different stuff. And then built out a couple of commercial builds and then some historical renovations and stuff like that. And it just kind of became second nature, at some point. And I guess I traveled for a long time with the shows and stuff like that, and then got into the bar business, bartended all over the place, and then opened and ran a bar and did that for a short period of time, but you can't stay in that forever. That's
Did you travel with Isaac? Like,
yeah,
doing like, cause I know he did at some degree, like party vacations or whatever, and you like pay, and he like plans the whole thing out. And were you a part of that?
That's kind of been Isaac's baby.
Okay. And
I helped him on the trip, summer before last, I guess. We went to Spain and went and ran with the bulls in Pamplona and did Ibiza and Barcelona and Bilbao and all the Basque Country and stuff like that. And me and Isaac, he was one of the partners at the bar, in Athens. We lived together for years.
About that.
Yeah, and we've been very, very close friends ever since the show. And partnered on different things as far as business goes, and traveled a ton together. He lives in Atlanta now. He moved to Georgia, and he's been in Georgia for years.
So is he who you're closest with from that Real World cast?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's not Siobhan.
Oh, I haven't talked to Siobhan in a long time. I know she's got a little one now, and I think they live somewhere in California. I don't really keep in touch with. I saw Kellyanne at the Denver airport. I was actually flying to Nashville to see Katelin.
That's a huge airport.
And have you ever like dove into all the conspiracy stuff?
Well, like with the horse with like the flaming eyes, and if you look at it from the top, it's like it's
in the middle of nowhere, and it was like a X amount of $1 million over budget. They have those like weird like Nazi murals all over. It's a strange airport.
And now when you go through it, they like funnel you through like the whole bottom part of the airport is all just TSA now. And it's strange.
It's weird. So she I think Kellyanne is dating somebody that was from Denver, so she'd moved to Denver, and I was walking through the airport, and I happened to look at a bar at an airport, and I saw a girl sitting at the bar, and I was like, no way, that ain't her. And I made a big lap, circled back around, and walked back, and I said, I'll be damned, that's her. Kellyanne. I just walked over and grabbed her on the shoulder, and I hadn't seen her in
Bloodlines, maybe?
I don't even know, 10 years or I don't know. Well, no, Bloodlines.
Yeah.
It's been 2015. Yeah, that was the last time I'd seen her.
That's still 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time. But as far as Dunbar, I don't know what he's doing, where he's at. Me and Trisha were friends, and we would text, but you just grow apart. You don't mean to. Age happens, life happens, and you get older and kind of grow apart.
Well, and you're pretty removed from that scene now. Like you're not.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when was the last time you actually watched the challenge? I knew you texted me. He's like, "Hey, it's been a few years." So. Well,
yeah, I don't know. I would watch it. I think I watched it. I think Derek had reached out to me at some point about doing his podcast.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, all right, if you send me the link and I'll watch the thing, and then where I can talk about the thing, you know. But I haven't had Netflix ruined me because there's no point in having cable now. It's like I'm not paying for cable now.
We have DirecTV specifically for the challenge and because Jake and I do a Memphis Grizzlies podcast too, and so the only way to get all those games is through cable.
Yeah,
and
sports.
That's
the reason.
Yeah, we have.
I watch the nerdiest imaginable television, like the craziest, like weird history documentaries like Ken Burns stuff and
Ken Burns
Katelin at night.
Ken Burns is such a famous documentarian that like in iMovie and stuff, it just has like a Ken Burns effect, like that pan and zoom on the pictures and I again, we probably watch a lot. Like I love watching Forged in Fire.
Oh my goodness! Don't even get him started on that.
I love knife making and like all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
See, my family, I wasn't taught anything with tools or any of that type of stuff. Yeah. And a few years ago, I was like, I really like what you can do with your hands. Like it's really fulfilling and whatever. And so I started like getting on YouTube and looking up woodworking and all that, and I just kind of taught myself and like ended up buying all the tools on my own.
Oh, cool!
And so like I don't do like furniture grade stuff, and I haven't done anything in a while, honestly, since we moved. But I really love like doing woodworking, and I want to do knife making and all that. I can't do any milling or any of that type of stuff because I just don't have the equipment for it. But again, I really do love it, just like going out and like 4 hours later, you come back and you got something.
Yeah, that's what I tell you. I like about. I'll go to work every day and I'll get like really, really, really dirty, but I just smell like a Christmas tree when I come home. It's all salt.
Yeah.
It's not like I got concrete stuck in my eyeballs and all this stuff. I like it. I like building. I like doing projects that you can do. Start from do the framing, do the finish work, do the side, and kind of projects that aren't over the top enormous. You can put attention to detail into it,
and then there's like a tangible result. You're like, I did this, and then like,
it's cool. I always like to think you're building somebody a home, not a house. It's like they might raise their kids, and there's a lot of people that are in the real estate industry that are flipping houses.
She's a realtor.
I'm not flipping houses.
No, she's a realtor though.
They'll go in these houses and just Band-Aid the crap out of them, and I never have been able to, I'm like, that could be somebody in their man and his wife's first home or something like that, and if you tear the wall out and the plumbing needs fix it while you're in there, So I've tried to steer clear of that side of construction, of the subdivision that one house looks after the next house. Looks like
I hate that. I hate that.
It's always been very custom stuff. I've been fortunate to build that kind of stuff or projects that I've taken on projects nobody else wanted to do because of they're aggravating or dirty or it's old buildings or stuff like that, kind of renovating them. But I think I've kind of become accustomed to liking that more. I like to.
She had a client today that they wanted her to call about a house, and it's like 3,400 square feet, and it's a multifamily house
built in the 1870s.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But
I know
it's like $85,000. But the guy that has it for sale is like, listen, he's like, it's gonna take like $100,000 just in repairs.
Yeah.
Because you got to redo all the plumbing, you got to redo all the electrical, you got to
redo all the water.
Yes, water, sewage. It's all got to be gutted and redone.
And a lot of those houses are just for people that want to say that their house was built in 1870.
Yeah.
I mean, the floor, once the floor gets like that, you can't adjust it out because, those beams and stuff they've sagged over time like that and they're not going to unsag.
Yeah. It's just how it's settled.
Yeah. It's how it's settled. And then you just got to kind of love and want that, But each to their own. I hate to see those old houses go. I like to. I've restored them before, and what you find in the walls for insulation and is newspaper and all kinds of
probably
cool
toxic
stuff.
to breathe in. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I ain't no telling what I've got to hold up. But I did one house Well, it was actually my dad's house, and it had the asbestos tiles panels.
Because they were like, oh, it's fireproof. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, it was great stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it was great stuff. And I had a mask on, and I was spraying it with water, and my dad said, he said, when I was a kid, I used to build forts out of it. So
Oh, my goodness.
I'd break it up and build little houses and towns out of it.
See, we've only ever, like, the houses we've all lived in have been all, like, 1960s or earlier.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And so
our first house was 1961, and that's the youngest house we've done.
Yeah.
Our last house was 55, and I loved it. And the one we're in now is 48.
yeah. So we have to do
Just
the
keep getting
lead
older.
paint disclosures, and the electrical's all 2-pronged, so we got to upgrade
Yeah.
that at some point. And
But I love it.
yeah, I do
love
like
it.
these, like, middle. I guess it's not mid-century, but you know,
Not quite.
I don't like
Yeah.
newer homes. I don't like the subdivisions
They
where
all look exactly the same.
there's no trees. That's what I figured out. I don't like. They just get rid of all the trees to make more land.
And there's no
Yeah.
character.
So
Yeah. It's cool. That is cool. And a lot of those old houses, they were built. I mean, their construction has come a long way, you know, just like telephones and everything else. But a lot of those houses there was a lot of time taken in, and especially like in Montana here, a lot of the old barns and stuff like that. You see some timber framing and stuff like that. That's just people really, really set in on, you know,
Well,
and tuck.
Back then, they were made solid, and that's why
Yeah.
all these years later, they're still standing and they're doing fine.
If it's held up this long, I figured it's going to keep holding a little while we're here at least.
Oh yeah, you'll be fine.
And it's all
What's mouse rat? I've been wondering that the whole damn time.
So, have you ever watched Parks and Recreation?
Mm-hmm.
It's Andy's band, like Chris Pratt's band. It's Mouse Rat.
Yeah, I guess that's a playoff house cat, right?
I don't know. He's just dumb on the show, but probably.
House rat,
Probably.
house cat.
Yeah. You know, that's it seems like you just were holding that in for so long it just like burst out.
Yeah, I couldn't contain myself any longer.
Yeah, it's that's all.
Listen,
is.
you guys have been talking about building houses and real estate, which I'm gonna be honest with you, Cohutta. I am real estate and building illiterate. Where Zach here and you are great with your hands, I am the total opposite.
What do you do, Jake?
Well, what I was about to ask you about, Zach and I here, one thing we taught ourselves to do, we're actually musicians.
Oh yeah.
I see you play a little bit of guitar, right?
Yeah, I diddle.
How long
Yeah,
have you been playing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I diddle around. Well, I started when I was real young and then stopped. I should have just kept going when I was like super duper young. But I guess I set in about 14 or so, 13, 13, and started taking it seriously. But to me, you reach a lot of plateaus with music, and I would get to those plateaus, and then things would be more important, wrestling or this or that, or going downtown Friday night or something. And so it kind of stunts your learning of playing guitar. Like Clint, my buddy Clint that works for me, he's like the nastiest guitar player I've ever heard, you know. Yeah. And it's because he locked himself in his room on those weekends and with a Leonard Skinner record and played it until it sounded exactly like the record, you know. But I enjoy it. I mean, I'm not good enough to play. You know, I couldn't go on tour with anybody or anything like that, but you know, I enjoy playing and buying them and you know, keeping guitars and following, you know, kind of where it's the analog industry's going and things of that nature. And
have you ever thought of
spend money on?
Have you ever thought about building them? I've looked into it. I've got books on it, but it's a lot of precision and math and.
Yeah, I have, but I think. This is not discouraging you building guitars at all, but I feel like that good guitars or something that it's like I wanted to maybe go down that vein, and then I started like watching like Greenfield guitar videos and like what, you know, that he'll take 4 months to build, you know, and match the necks and the faces by tone and all these things, and it's like this guy's dedicated his life to doing this one thing, building guitars.
Yep.
So, and he's like building what I would want to be playing. You know, he's like building legitimate guitars. And I had a buddy that bought one of those kits Martin has a kit you can buy,
yeah.
and build your own guitar, and he did a good job with it. But it was not. It wasn't a D28.
There's so many little things that if you just get like a couple degrees off, the intonation, everything's gone.
Yeah, and it's just like the Brian Greenfield. He's probably gonna build the best acoustic guitar I've ever played. But he'd hire me to frame his house.
Yeah.
No, it's like, so sometimes I feel like that it's just too late in the game for me to start building guitars. I don't know. I don't know if I have the time to dedicate.
I don't know about that. That's the thing. It's the time to learn it and then like make the mistakes and figure out.
I would like
to get to a place where you perfect it.
I could maybe tear one down and refret it and do like a harmony conversion or something, a K conversion or something like that. That might be kind of cool. But
I finally, because Jake and I, similar to you, like we really started playing around 13 or so.
Mm-hmm.
We both started on the bass actually, and then kind of transitioned because I'm a couple years older, and so we both started playing electric and acoustic probably 15 or 16, and we were in bands together. We played shows in high school.
Oh, nice.
And
man, there's nothing like playing shows, man. Just like these small little churches with like 100 people in it or something. It's just a pretty euphoric experience.
And we were like, again, we're in West Tennessee, but we were like playing like heavy stuff, and like, it's just a bunch of high school kids that in like churches would let us rent out their building for like $50, and we just have our own show there. And
that's cool.
So we grew up doing that, but I actually I've been wanting it for years. I finally got a custom guitar made, and it took 11 months or something like that, like from the time that I ordered until it came in.
Who made it? Is it somebody local or?
No, it's a guy out of L.A. His name is Dunnable Guitars, and he's in some heavier bands, but he's a guy that just makes stuff, and it's all out of black limba, like the neck, the body, everything, and it's really
pretty.
Yeah, it's
a full on like active pickup shredder.
Oh yeah, hold on, I'll grab it real quick.
Yeah, don't play around.
He's so proud of it. He's been talking about it for years, and finally for our anniversary, like 2 years ago, we agreed that was something that he could do.
Oh yeah, that's slick.
Yeah, so it's all one piece of black limba. It's
Yeah. What are you running it through?
He said, "What are you running it through?"
I've had like boutique amps and stuff, and like Morgans and Dr. Z and stuff like that, but honestly,
the nice stuff.
I sold all of it, and I just have a deluxe reverb, like just Fender deluxe reverb, because it's got the best cleans in the world to me, and it was like $700.
You need to check out a buddy of mine out of Athens makes, to me, the best analog stomp box pedals that are made. His name's Nick Greer.
Oh yeah, I've met him. I know, like I met him at Summer NAMM in Nashville like 2 years ago.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, those pedals are the light speeds, and he's got that Southland overdrive, and then he's got one called a Guerrilla Warfare that's super overprop, awesome. Nick makes killer pedals. In Athens, I remember the music stores when I lived in Athens. Before he'd gotten bigger, they just had a Sharpie gotten on. Yeah. And everybody wanted them because they sounded so good.
Yeah, he was really nice. I went by his booth and played with a bunch of. I don't own any of his stuff. Like I have my own pedal board over there, but it's a company that if I just had extra money, I would buy a lot of it because it was all really solid.
Yeah, he makes nice pedals.
And
he makes nice amps too.
Yep. I've looked at his amps before I ended up just going to the deluxe reverb. Like he's a good dude. Have you ever been to like the NAMM or the Summer NAMM or any of that? It's really cool.
Oh, I would like to.
Yeah,
leave my damn checkbook at the house.
That's the thing. It's expensive, man.
The stuff's expensive, man. Like, a good sounding just little square pedal. I mean, gosh, $80 to $100. I actually like ventured into kind of more the music production side of it. Like, I mean, I've got like my MIDI keyboard over here and like some different stuff because I actually like it's cool hearing like all the different venues like people use to just be creative, because I think like to me like building a house is extremely creative. Tearing a car apart and putting it back together is extremely creative. So I actually I find my creative venture less with my hands and more with like just writing musically and everything. like I love playing around with production stuff and everything. So it's always cool to hear that, just the different venues people can go through to be creative, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So what guitars do you have? I know I've seen a Telecaster from you.
I don't have a lot of guitars. I got a American Deluxe Telecaster, Sunburst Deluxe Telecaster, which I got a really good deal in it. My buddy bought it new, and he was a really good guitar player. And then he started playing bluegrass, the one that built the Martin guitar, and now he's a really good guitar player. He's like playing Tony Rice stuff, and but he wanted to buy that Martin kit and priced me that Telecaster brand new, and it's got the carved back,
Oh yeah.
It's got the S1 switches and all in it, maple neck. So I said, well, I'm gonna buy this, and this is just gonna be I'll keep it forever, and if it gets scratched or whatever, I ain't gonna wipe it down when I'm done with it or anything like that. So that's the one I play most with electric guitar, and I've got a Les Paul, 2001 or 2002 antique Sunburst Standard Plus Les Paul Gibson. And
I had a Gibson Traditional Pro, like Les Paul, and I loved it, but that thing weighed so.
It's just so heavy, man.
Yeah, that's why I sold it, because I was like, it's so heavy. Like that guitar right there, it's like 7 pounds, like perfect. Yeah.
Got an old PV T60.
Yeah.
Those
things weigh like 11 pounds.
Yeah, they're heavy. I've got that and a PV. It's kind of like an old PV Deuce, but they called it a PV Classic
30
SVT, not SVT. It's not a 30. It was the first amp PV made that had onboard effects. So it's got an onboard reverb and an onboard rate switch on it.
Sorry, tremolo.
Onboard tremolo says 2 Black Widow, and it's got I think it's a tube preamp and a solid state power amp, or vice versa. It's like a hybrid amp. Yeah. PV did some crazy stuff, and if you ever look at those T60s, the amount of different things you can get with the switching on it is crazy.
I almost bought one like 4 or 5 times, because it used to be like $300 all day long, and now they're like $700.
They're made really well.
They're made in Mississippi.
They're made really well. I've got
I had a T40 bass that I sold a while back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just the bass version.
We had one of those in the band, like that I managed. He had platinum PV. I got a Blue Ridge acoustic guitar I play. That's kind of just sits out, and a couple 12 strings, and I don't know, banjos and mandolins, and
she wants to learn to play a mandolin.
I love bluegrass so much.
Oh yeah, me and you both.
So I think it's the mountains in me.
Well, it is, and it's even like a lot of people. You can take any musician that plays any genre of music and put him like second row, first row at a Billy Strings show, and his head will explode.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're just so good. It's like, have you listened to any of that, Zach or Jay, that Billy Strings stuff?
No, I don't know Billy Strings. She listens to a lot of bluegrass.
He's next level.
My grandparents used to like go to these. There was this little park we had in the town we grew up in that would host like little bluegrass concerts.
Every July.
Bunch of older folks would take their little lawn chairs and just sit up under the pavilion and just listen to bluegrass music. So, and I went with them a few times as a kid.
I hated it as a kid.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It
not
was
my
right
cup of tea.
Right on the river too.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like when you get into that world of flat pickers, it's like a whole different.
Yeah, I can't.
Those Nashville studio flat pickers are
I don't have the dexterity to pick with my right hand like that. Like banjo picking, I can't do it.
Yeah. They're good, man. That's a different ball game, bluegrass. And those guitars, they'll have a Martin D28 with like 13s on it or something like that.
Yeah,
that are sitting this high off the neck.
It's basically like rebar at that point.
Yeah, they're hard to play. Yeah. But they got to be loud and pretty respectful little deal. Bluegrass guitar player they can rip.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's always like these like, 50-something-year-old guys in like a suit jacket, and then they just come up there and they kind of destroy it, and they're like, they're better than I'll ever be in my whole life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're good.
This is all they've done their whole lives.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna force feed you bluegrass stuff now. I'll be sending you on bluegrass stuff.
That's fine.
I will eat it up.
Yeah, she'll love it.
I can't get enough.
So
yeah,
like I don't honestly listen to a lot of that. I like bluegrass, but we grew up honestly like hating country music and all that because we were growing up in I don't know, like when we were 13 or so, it was like 2001, and like that was the start of like the pop country like really taking over. So I hated country my whole life.
Yeah.
And but now like I love Jason Isbell. Like he's one of my favorite musicians of all time. Chris Stapleton and Sturgill Simpson, all those guys, like I love all them. But they're different. Like they're not.
Well, they're artists. I
yeah.
mean, it's like actual music. It's not like. It's what I tell Caitlin. Is like, if you hear Conway Twitty saying one note, you know it's Conway Twitty.
Yeah.
If you hear Randy Travis or any of those guys saying just one, but now there's, Nashville country or pop country. It just got to a point where it was like the same studio musicians blending the same guitar intros and the same solos.
Well, it's the same
and the same bass line. Yeah, just this, and it was like this stuff that was. And then that Sturgill record and the Chris Stapleton records and the Whitey Morgans and Daniel Romano stuff came along and kind of changed the game on all that stuff. Yeah. Dave Cobb, and it started kind of being like art again.
It's more like an Americana almost than it is just like country. And like,
for sure.
Like we've seen Jason Isbell at the Ryman like two or three times.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, like I love it. Like he is absolutely one of my favorite artists. And
I met him at Forecastle Fest in Kentucky, and it was right after Free Agents.
Oh,
and somebody had screenshotted me on the show.
Uh-huh.
Production goes through all your clothes, and they get rid of any logos or anything like that. But I had a 3/4 length baseball tee.
Oh, yeah. We
Jason
saw that.
Isbell. It said Dixie Youth Baseball on it.
When we were watching Free Agents, you were wearing it because
that.
I think you were on the couch with Nani or something, and we were like, he's wearing a Jason Isbell shirt.
Yeah, and somebody sent it to him.
Yeah.
And I met him at the show up there after he played in Kentucky, and he's like, "That's the first time I've ever been on MTV." He's a real laid-back, normal dude,
Well, that's because he's from Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, I've seen him several times. Which I lived in Athens. At Drive-By Truckers was enormous.
Yeah, that was when he was still an alcoholic back then.
Yeah.
He's sworn off all that and gone clean.
He's got a kid now.
Yeah.
He's writing good records.
Yeah, it's
good stuff.
He had a new
Have you
one.
listened to the new one that came out this past week?
Mm-hmm. Reunions. We listened to it at work the other day.
It's good. It's good. I don't think Jake likes it, but like I love it.
No, but I'm not one of these guys that like I have an appreciation for all kinds of music. I may not it may not be my cup of tea, something I crank on in the vehicle on my way to work or go to the gym to listen to. I'm strictly into the heavier stuff for the most part. That's always been. We grew up playing that kind of music, and I still kind of roll with that to this day. So
I've always told people I like everything that's not crap. I like rap.
That works too.
I like metal. I like but if it's like good rap,
good
like
parts in every genre, and there's like real crappy parts in every genre.
Yeah.
Too.
I used to listen to all that Black Label Society and those like Pride and Glory, old Zakk Wylde early records and stuff like that were awesome. That stuff was killer.
So people are going to get mad at us if we don't talk a little bit about the challenge.
We better hurry because I'm about to start cooking some elk.
That's fine. I thought you'd already cooked. What happened? I thought you did that before we did this.
Well, no, I've tried to get that. I cooked a little bit of it. The area we live in, these elk just eat alfalfa fields all year. So you can take a piece of elk ham or tenderloin and almost sear it like a piece of tuna.
Yeah.
Just with like a little wasabi or something, and it's almost, they call it Rocky Mountain sashimi.
So is it real?
It's raw, pretty
much. Is it real gamey at that point?
No, hell no.
I've never had elk.
We're gonna try.
No, it's real mild. It's good.
Okay. Well, let's
get through our questions then.
Let's do our Patreon questions because those are all going to be challenge related. I know how.
Okay.
So, Paul said, "Would you ever return to the challenge? Like, if they called you and like you had time, like, would you go back?"
Maybe. You know, if it worked out where I at that point in my life or something like that, or I was in between bills or something, and the last one they called me for, I told them no. I
Do
couldn't.
you remember how long ago that was?
Last year.
Okay.
Really?
Okay.
I wonder if that was War of the Worlds.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They said, "Why not?" And I said, "Because we're building a town. Can't go."
What? See, my idea is to been pitched for a long time is like a best friend season, because like when those get real intense, like those fights are real.
Yeah.
And
so
they cut deep.
if they were like, "Hey, we want you and Abram to be on a best friend season,"
I would go.
yeah, okay,
There we go.
Yeah. If Abe went, I'd go.
okay. Well, we'll try to put that out there.
We're gonna call MTV after this.
You know what they'll do though? They'll start it out like that, and then halfway through the season they'll change it.
Yeah.
It'll be with
They're
the
like,
worst
"Just kidding.
person in
Here's
the
your
world.
3 ex-girlfriends."
Yeah, it'll be.
So, the next question from Brandi. She asked if you'd been asked to return, so obviously, and then she said, "What format is the favorite of ones you've done?"
For me personally, probably the island.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
That's one a lot of people
That's the
hate.
weirdest season to us. Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird because I think that the idea was there. They just done it wrong. I mean,
Well-
if you're going to do Survivor, do it.
Also, there's a
You know?
lot of troublesome language when you go back and watch it 10 years later.
A lot of real
yeah.
derogatory stuff that was accepted back in that time, and it didn't really catch a lot of people's attention. That nowadays, you know, you go through a lot of things we've been through, just does not.
I've always said
Or-
do it like History Channel does Alone.
I haven't watched
Do it.
that.
So that's legit. They turn them out there, and they're by themselves, and the last one to come in wins.
Oh, wow.
They're allowed to take like 10 things.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, but they don't want that. They have to have that interaction of everybody arguing with each other
Yeah.
as opposed to dealing with like legitimate drama, like I'm starving to death or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like we watched The Island right around the time we started the podcast. We didn't do episode recaps or anything, but
Mhm.
we were like, wow, like Kenny and Johnny and some of these guys don't come off as well as you remember. And,
Oh no. You know, and Johnny will say, "What you mean, Johnny, your buddy?" And he'll say, "That I was miserable, and that doesn't." I said, "I was there too. We were in the
But-
same place.
but you
eat the
said
same stuff."
you and Abram kind of enjoyed it though.
Yeah.
So Paul says, all right, so this is relevant. He said that I have tried hundreds of times to get Kenny on this podcast, and he said you've done a few seasons with him, and is there any connections you can do to help me out? Because Kenny he just avoids it. Like he's seen stuff and he's interacted with us a little bit, but he's just at the point to where he just
I think those boys had a bit of a falling out,
they did.
you know, and I
Yeah.
think that Kenny, I always got along really well with Kenny,
Yeah.
you know, because Kenny's like genuinely entertaining, hilarious, you know, quick-witted.
I think
you
Jake
know.
said he might be the best talker to ever be on the show. Just
Oh, he's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's funny, you know. But I think that he kind of redirected his life. I mean, I think once reality TV kind of ended for him,
yeah.
he kind of changed gears and focused on something else. And I don't think he wants to entertain the past like that because
And
think
I
he's
get
driven
that.
toward what he's doing now,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
He's doing all the fitness stuff in New York.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah, he's doing
moved
really
on in
well.
life, and he doesn't want to
Oh, but I'm still gonna
bring
try.
anything back up.
You know,
I
again, it
understand.
may be with you, like out of the blue, like a year later, he'll text me and be like, "Hey, what's going on?"
I really doubt
Never
it.
know. You
Uh,
never know.
So, our man Neil, which by the way, so you know, Neil is a guy who I believe is in his 50s and started watching the challenge with his daughter as a way to like bond with her, and then he just grew to like love the show.
Yeah.
He said, "Do you get recognized out in public, and how do you handle it?"
Yeah, sometimes. Not nothing like I used to. And it's like it kind of dies off. And if you do another show and your face gets back on the TV screen, it kind of skyrockets again, and then it'll die off, and it'll go up, and it'll die off.
You're also living in a pretty like remote area relative to where you were before.
In an area people don't. I mean, I don't think there's like a concentration of reality TV, watchers in Paradise Valley, Montana.
Yeah.
I don't even think Abram gets recognized here. He's raised here.
And he's very recognized just with the tattoos and all that stuff.
Yeah, he stands out like a sore thumb. Yeah. But and if I do, it's always still very kind of flattering to me that somebody acknowledges your existence, and all you did was be the exact same thing just in front of a camera. You know, it's like you didn't play a role or you didn't do anything. You just was just you.
I will say that is one thing that people appreciate about you more than a lot of other people, is that it just felt like you were just like somewhere where cameras happened to be. Like you weren't looking to like make a storyline or like
get
fight.
Airtime.
Like it's just like you're just living your life and there's just other people around.
Yeah, and it makes it very humbling that people see that, and then they're like, I guess you could say like you have a fan, and it's like sometimes you don't really know how to react because you're just like, thanks.
Yeah,
it's very nice of you.
Well, and I'll just make a confession here, Cohutta. I got a deep appreciation for you, because let's be real, you are a true Southern gentleman. You kind of, yeah. Can we get a confirmation on that? Is that fair? True Southern gentleman. And so, listen, I'm a romantic, right? And I think it is a.
He's gonna ask you out.
No, I'm not. Listen, I am happily taken by, in my opinion, the most beautiful girl on the planet. But nonetheless, I have a true appreciation for you and kind of how you operate and how you perceive relationships, and really just how to be good to the opposite sex. I think it is something you don't see a lot today. I actually got asked to come on a podcast that talks about the challenge also, and I kind of talked about my approach, it was a whole like dating thing, right? Because I am just to be really transparent, had a divorce a couple of years ago. You live and you learn and everything, and so I got back in the dating world, and I'm just like, this place is crazy now because I was married for like 5 years, and it's just bizarre now. And so I don't think just in my personal experience, girls get a lot of that treatment these days, just having someone genuinely treat them right and good. And so I have a deep appreciation for you like that, because and that's real. That's not fabricated in any way. I think it's a real treasure to find someone, even from the female side, to treat you the same way, that is just good to you,
Yeah, and I see a lot of the guys on those shows, and when you're on the show and all these things are happening. In my mind, I'm thinking, not only like, should you probably not say that, but you realize there's 4 cameras right now on you.
Yep.
You just said some stuff that is like really, really degraded and really really bad. You're not going to benefit from it all, except airtime.
Yeah, I was about to say, and the worse it is, the more likely it's going to be on the show.
Yeah, I'm like, how would you why sacrifice your integrity in the world for that or something? But different strokes for different folks.
Right, we got a couple more, and we'll let you get out of here. Greg says he wants.
Appreciate that. Hey, thanks.
Yes, sir.
He wants you to
Don't
spell.
go right to my head.
He wants you to spell svelte.
No, I tell him I got spelled for him.
Okay. He said he's joking, but he'd love to hear more about Robert the Bruce film.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we it actually just dropped on. That was when I told you that came out here for 7 days, stayed for 13 weeks. We built the set for that film. So to kind of give you the what's the word abbreviated? What's the word if you have a
Condensed
short summary of a long story?
I think it's.
I'll think of it in a minute. It's not condensed. It's I'll think of it. Anyways, the guy that played Robert the Bruce in Braveheart wrote this script, Angus McFadden, and he never did anything with it. And years down the road, he came to the director that I told you me and Abram met with and presented it to him. So they made the film, and we shot it, a lot of it in Montana, and they shot a lot of it in Scotland, like the big battle scenes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like they released that Outlaw King with Chris Pine, I think is his name, that played Robert the Bruce. And it's kind of the same story, but it's just a way more intimate version. And I think that a lot of like Scottish people identify with Angus MacFadyen as Robert the Bruce because he was Braveheart Robert the Bruce. He's like Robert the Bruce.
Is it out now?
It is.
So what's it called?
Called Robert the Bruce.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's on all like the digital platforms that you can possibly imagine, Google Play and Amazon, and it's good. Okay. I mean, the cinematically and the storyline, it's cool. It was a cold winter.
Did you sneak into any scenes?
No.
No. I was gonna look for you.
You can still look.
Yeah, I'm not gonna find anything.
I might be lying.
Paul wanted to know if you were friends with Ace, and did you really open some bars with him in Georgia? I think we kind of talked about that a little bit.
We didn't. Well, yeah, I helped Ace open Flip Flops in Atlanta. I helped him do the building and stuff for it. And Ace has kind of got out of the bar scene now.
He said what happened to him.
Here's what Ace is doing now. He'll love this. So Ace is from Woodbury, Georgia, and there's this old, like 150-year-old church there called Antioch Church. And Ace has this like weird kindred connection to this church. And he left Atlanta. His place he lived in caught on fire in Atlanta. And he got out of downtown Atlanta and he moved, and he was living in this church. And there was these, you've probably heard of Warm Springs, Georgia. It was like where Franklin Roosevelt,
okay.
They're like these natural hot springs in central Georgia, and they're like not like Yellowstone hot springs. The water's like 80 degrees.
Yeah.
They're supposed to have all these like healing properties and this stuff. And they closed them down way back, and Ace bought one. It used to be like a public swimming area that was a hot spring and the property around it. And now he's reconditioning the property and tried to open the spring as it was in like 1925.
I saw he posted
awesome.
Yesterday or the day before. He's like, just spent 4.5 hours wrestling with this tree root or something.
Ace loves doing demo work.
Yeah,
that's his favorite part of the
project. He looked like he was wearing like catcher's gear, like
he was.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
So Sam asked if you actually missed the show, the challenge, and do you still talk to anybody from the show? Other than Abram, obviously.
I kind of miss the competition, too. But then I also think, my size and at 36, you get hit one wrong time in hall brawl or something like that, and it's like, is it worth breaking a collarbone over? Or is it, is it worth? I'm not going to lightly hit anybody, regardless if it's smart or not.
Last night on the episode, Jordyn Wisely.
Mm-hmm.
So he's what 5'10", like 170 pounds or
Jordyn
something.
was on free agents too.
Probably, maybe 180, something like that.
Okay, well he did the pole wrestle game
with a guy like twice his size.
A guy that played tight end at UT Chattanooga.
That's younger than him
for 4 years. That's 6'5" and 250.
Because he's like close to my age.
And he separated Jordyn's shoulder in the middle of the thing.
Just
like couldn't even lift it up.
Yeah,
just dangling.
Yeah,
and Jordyn's one of those guys that doesn't quit either. Like he's
good. Jordyn's tough.
Yeah, so
for sure tough.
Yeah,
but that stuff happens, and it's like you're not gonna, if you've got any like whatever inside you, you're not gonna quit, especially when there's 18 cameras on you on television. You're damn sure not gonna quit. And you know what I mean?
It's for the possibility now of like $1 million.
Yeah.
And so the last question we got is. Paul, again, he's asked a lot of these. He wants to know if when you were on the island, if you just started building your own boat and production told you that you weren't allowed to do that.
That's very true. Me and Abram actually built a outrigger raft, and they said that the money was on this island, and we had a pretty legitimate raft.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could have got out past the breakers, I think we would have made it. When we made it out of, we started taking the set apart. It was an old Survivor set, and the whole thing was put together with the bamboo and like manila rope.
Yeah, so it floats.
So we started just taking the set apart and using all the rope, and we made an outrigger canoe that, floated.
Yeah.
And this was like 8 hours into the show from us getting there, We were headed across the ocean, and they made us stop. They made us tear it apart.
I mean, it does kind of kill, like, the 12 weeks or whatever they need.
Yeah, I get it.
But it would have been funny because
in the moment,
you guys would have been the only two that could have done that.
Were you around when he got stung so bad on that?
Oh yeah, his lips swelled up like a nutsack's not PG, is it?
It's
but that's
fine.
What it was a big.
It'll work.
It was a huge bubble gum. We had this lagoon where we would all bathe, and it was full of like little I guess they were blue crabs. They weren't land crabs. The land crabs were like real gross to eat, but these were like saltwater crabs. Mm-hmm. And it had this big tree coming out of the middle of the lagoon that had fruit on the tree. And Abram had climbed up there to get the fruit, and he didn't know it, but there were these Panamanian just wasps that had a nest in that tree, and he was shimmying it like Mowgli off the Jungle Book or something.
So shaking their whole house.
Yeah, and he just pretty much hugged them.
Oh my
and
God.
They started lighting him up, and he jumped out of the tree into the lagoon.
Yeah.
And he was screaming. And he ran down the beach, and we got back to we had that little commons area type deal there, and he had stings all over him. And he goes, one of those, I forget who he was. He said, "Where's the whiskey? Give me a bottle of whiskey." And they got the whiskey, one of those girls, and they started pouring it on these stings. And he said, "No, give me the whiskey." And he started drinking the whiskey. He said, "You know how bad this hurts?"
Yeah.
But he swelled up. His lips swelled up. I think he got stung like 22 times.
I remember seeing his chest like getting real puffy from it. Like,
yeah, it was gnarly. I mean, he's lucky he didn't have some kind of reaction to him. They were big, nasty looking ones.
So was there like medical, like staying there with you, or would have been a whole nother ordeal?
They had a camp next to ours that was like production and medical and all that kind of stuff. But
so it wasn't like you guys were like boat rides away.
Yeah, we were. Nobody was probably. I mean, we were a long ways from a hospital. We were probably 45 minutes or an hour ride from a hospital.
Yeah.
But I guess they'd have landed a helicopter. I don't know. It's a risk. You never know what those people, what the production will do for you.
I don't think we're going to ever see another island, especially with Survivor still going. So it kind of stands alone as it's like a little one-off special thing in challenge history that's pretty divisive. People either love it or they hate it.
Yeah, I agree.
Again, man, we appreciate you coming on with us. We don't want to hold you up anymore. Again, we thought you had cooked beforehand from the way that you had talked. So
yeah, and I apologize. It took so long to come on here.
Listen, it's been worth the wait. People are gonna love it. They're gonna get to see you. They're not
you
seeing
told some great stories.
They're not seeing all your like beautiful hair that you pulled back up before we started recording.
Yeah, I did that so you could see my face.
Yeah.
I have some lip readers out there that you didn't know about that needed to really get a visual.
Maybe that's a thing, but we do appreciate you coming on. Again, worth the wait. We just we hope you stay safe in Montana, and maybe we'll see you again one day.
Yeah,
and maybe
in touch, and maybe we can do this again.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Maybe even provide everyone with a little jam session. Yeah, and we'll have Hannah sing. Yeah,
you never know.
She'll play the mandolin.
Or if you want to come back out here and start building some cabins, I'll start selling them, and we can really just start.
She could sell.
Retire.
She could sell anything in the state of Tennessee. So
nice.
So, but yeah, again, it was good to actually talk to you and get this going. But we don't want to make your girlfriend mad that you're not cooking for her when it's your night to cook.
Them elk steaks.
Yeah,
Oof.
She don't get real mad.
Well, that's
angry sometimes.
That's a good thing. But again, man, we appreciate you coming on. Do you have anything you want to plug before you get out of here? Do you want to you plug the movie about Robert the Bruce? Is there anything else you want to do?
I'm not really a plugger.
Yeah, I didn't think that.
Y'all need a house built, holler at me.
All right. Well, if we do, we'll definitely let you know. But we appreciate it, man. We'll let you get out of here, and we'll maybe see you on the challenge one day in the future. I'll pitch that best friend season
with Abe.
Yeah. Cool. Well, sounds good. Y'all have a good night.
See you, man.
See ya.
Bye.